I've decided to withdraw our investment from the Southern project. And while we're at it, employee ID L001, Sales Director Leo, terminate him immediately. Understood, Miss Mia. The decision takes effect right now. The sea breeze from Biscayne Bay swept into the upscale villa in Miami, carrying with it the faint, salty moisture so characteristic of Florida. Inside the lavishly decorated mansion spanning 4,000 square feet, about 370 square meters, the atmosphere of Noche Buena, the traditional Christmas Eve celebrated by the Latin community, had reached its peak. Crystal chandeliers shimmered as they reflected off glasses of expensive wine. Leo stood in the middle of the living room, holding up a glass of $200 Cabernet Sauvignon, his face flushed red from alcohol and excitement. He was the center of the party, surrounded by relatives staring at him in open admiration. "Salud!" Leo shouted loudly, his voice echoing through the high-ceilinged room. This year was a huge win. That brand-new Tesla Model S Plaid in the garage is just the beginning. Next month, I'm taking the whole family skiing in Aspen. First-class tickets, of course. Thunderous applause and admiring murmurs erupted. At that moment, the kitchen door swung open. In stark contrast to the cool, perfume-scented air of the living room, a wave of heat from the oven followed Mia's footsteps. She struggled forward carrying a heavy tray of lechon, a whole roasted pig, the main dish of the feast, which she had tended over the fire for a full 8 hours. Mia wore no makeup. Her black hair was hastily tied up with a cheap plastic clip to keep sweat from dripping into the food. She was dressed in an old, worn set of house clothes, the same outfit she had been wearing since Christmas 2 years ago. Mia's appearance was like a wrong note that abruptly disrupted the symphony of boasting. The laughter died down. The admiring gazes that had been fixed on Leo shifted to Mia with a trace of awkward sympathy, then stopped at the sharp, cutting eyes of Mrs. Rosa. Mrs. Rosa, Leo's mother, sat in a velvet-upholstered armchair, gently stroking her pearl necklace, her lips curling in disdain. "Dios mío, Mia, just look at yourself. Today is your husband's celebration party. Leo works his tail off earning a 6-figure salary to support this family, and this is how you present yourself, like a sloppy maid. You're embarrassing him." Mia lowered her head and placed the tray of meat on the table, trying to hide her hands cracked and raw from dishwashing detergent. "I'm sorry, Mom. It's so hot in the kitchen. I was afraid nice clothes would soak up the grease smell." She stole a glance at Leo, hoping for some defense or at least a word of thanks for the lavish meal. But there was none. Leo merely shrugged, jerked his chin toward his wife, then turned back to smile casually at his mother. "Oh, come on, Mom, don't fuss over it. She's used to being idle at home. All she does is bury herself in the kitchen all day. How would she know how to dress up or socialize? Just leave her alone." Leo's words were like a bucket of icy water thrown straight into Mia's face in the middle of the celebration. She remained silent, offering no response, quietly retreating into the background, blending into the long shadows cast by the luxurious furniture that people assumed had all been bought by her husband. The next morning, after the last guests had left and the afterglow of the extravagant party had faded, the villa returned to its usual cold, hollow silence. Mia stood at the sink, hand-washing a pile of high-end crystal glasses because Mrs. Rosa forbade her from using the dishwasher for such items. Leo walked into the kitchen, adjusting the knot of his Hermes silk tie, his face tense, etched with exhaustion and stress. He pulled out his personal checkbook from his briefcase, scribbled a sloppy signature, and tossed the thin piece of paper onto the marble countertop. The check slid across the surface and stopped right beside Mia's hand. "This is the household money for this month," Leo snapped, irritation clear in his voice. "And watch how you spend it. I just got a notice from FPL this morning. The electricity bill hit $600. What the hell are you doing at home to burn that much power, Mia? Do you think I print money?" Mia wiped her hands on her apron and picked up the check. The amount was the same as every month, but food prices at Whole Foods had gone up by 15%. She spoke softly. Leo, the house has high ceilings and faces west. The sun is intense. The central AC has to run constantly. Otherwise, don't make excuses. Leo cut her off, glaring. If it's hot, open the windows and breathe in the sea air. Living off someone else means cutting back on comforts. Don't keep turning the thermostat down to 68 degrees Fahrenheit every chance you get. You're spoiled out of your mind. As soon as he finished berating his wife, Leo's phone vibrated in his pocket. He flinched, quickly turning his back to Mia, shielding the screen in a furtive motion. It was a message from Veronica, VIP client, the name saved in his contacts. "Baby, I saw you checked in at a 5-star restaurant with your family last night. What about the bag I liked?" Leo's thumb flew across the keyboard. His attitude shifted 180 degrees, a flattering smile spreading across his face. "Don't pout, sweetheart. I haven't forgotten. The Chanel 19 bag you like will be yours by this weekend, I promise." He slipped the phone back into his pocket and let out a breath. In reality, Leo's mind was spinning like a windmill. He secretly opened his Wells Fargo banking app. What greeted him were glaring red low balance warnings. The Amex Platinum card he had just promised to use for his mistress's bag had been maxed out since last week. 2 other Visa and MasterCards were also drowning in high-interest debt. He was surviving by paying the minimum balance on one card with another, a dangerous financial juggling act he believed he still had under control as long as Mia remained the obedient freeloader he could vent his anger on. Around 10 a.m., just as Mia finished cleaning up the battlefield in the kitchen, the front door burst open without any warning. "Hola, Mia." Lola, 25-year-old sister, strode into the house as if it were her own territory. She wore oversized sunglasses covering half her face and dragged in a large nylon laundry bag, tossing it heavily onto the living room sofa. "Hola, Mia," Lola drawled lazily, removing her sunglasses and tossing them onto the table. "My apartment's washing machine broke again. Can you take care of these for me? Oh, and be careful with the beige Zimmermann silk dress. That one has to be hand-washed in cold water. Absolutely no wringing." Mia sighed softly, looking at the pile of clothes reeking of heavy perfume mixed with sweat. This wasn't the first time. Lola could easily afford a laundromat, but she preferred bringing her clothes here, saving money while enjoying the feeling of ordering around a sister-in-law whom the entire family looked down on. Seeing that Mia didn't respond immediately, Lola pursed her lips, plopped down on the opposite couch, and pulled out her phone to scroll through Instagram. "You really have it easy, Mia. I have to wake up at 5 a.m., drive all the way to South Beach to shoot bikini photos for a brand, baking under the sun until my skin feels burnt. And you just sit back and live comfortably, staying home with the AC on, living off my brother." Mia stayed silent. She sat down in the corner of the sofa, holding her old phone, her fingers moving swiftly across the screen. Lola glanced over and sneered. "Playing Candy Crush or scrolling TikTok watching cat videos? Typical bored housewife behavior. You should find something useful to do. Letting my brother break his back supporting you like this, people will judge, you know." Lola had no idea that on the cracked screen of Mia's phone were not colorful candies or pointless entertainment videos. It was the dark interface of the MetaTrader 4 trading platform. Green and red candlesticks were dancing wildly. The EUR/USD currency pair was fluctuating sharply after freshly released economic news. Mia had just placed a massive short order, a lot size no amateur trader would ever dare to dream of. In just a few minutes Lola spent complaining, Mia's account had jumped up by $4,500, nearly 2 months' salary for an average office worker, and 10 times the fee Lola was so proud of earning from her photo shoot. Mia turned off her screen and looked at her sister-in-law, her eyes calm as a still lake. "All right, Lola, leave the clothes there. I'll wash them. Would you like some orange juice?" "No, thanks." Lola stood up, brushing off her pants. "I want a diet. I'll come by later tonight to pick up my clothes. Lola turned and walked away, completely unaware that the woman she had just ordered around like a servant had earned enough money in a few taps of her fingers to buy out her entire wardrobe. The door slammed shut behind Lola, restoring silence to the vast living room. Mia let out a long breath, her shoulders tight from enduring the contempt, slowly relaxing. She didn't rush to wash her sister-in-law's clothes. Instead, Mia walked into the pantry, closed the door, and pulled out a Ledger Nano X cold wallet from an empty cereal box hidden in the corner, the most secure offline cryptocurrency storage device. She connected it to her phone via Bluetooth and entered an 8-digit security code. The phone screen lit up, revealing a digital asset management interface. Her total net worth appeared in bright green, $8,245,000. Mia was not the unemployed housewife Leo's family believed her to be. In the underground world of crypto and Forex, she was known by the nickname the Silent Whale. Starting with a modest amount of capital during her college years, through sharp intelligence and an innate talent for risk management, Mia multiplied her assets thousands of times through Bitcoin cycles and spectacular short positions in the foreign exchange market. Her personal wealth now exceeded the combined net worth of Leo's entire extended family by more than tenfold, including this house and all the debts they were drowning in. Why did she keep it hidden? A memory from 5 years ago surged back through, sending a sharp pain through Mia's chest. Back then, when Leo lost his first job, Mia had excitedly handed him $20,000 in investment profits to help him get by. She still vividly remembered Leo's face, flushed red and twisted with rage. He had flung the stack of cash onto the floor and shouted, "Are you humiliating me? Men are the breadwinners. Women keep the home fires burning. I don't need charity from my wife. Never show that you're better than your husband, Mia." That machismo, the toxic patriarchal mindset ingrained in Leo as a Latin man, ran deep in his blood. He needed to feel like the provider, the pillar, even though in reality that pillar was already rotting from the inside. From that day on, Mia learned to stay silent. She let Leo play the king while she faded into the background, quietly using her own money to patch up the financial holes Leo created under the guise of grocery savings. Mia turned off the screen and slipped the cold wallet back into the cereal box. She stepped out and picked up Lola's dirty laundry. In their eyes, she was just the woman who did the washing, but in the shadows, she was the one holding the financial fate of the entire family without any of them knowing. The scorching midday sun of Miami baked the asphalt. Mia sat inside her old 2012 Toyota Corolla, sweat beading on her forehead. She turned the key for the third time. Cough, cough, whir. The engine groaned weakly, then died completely. Heat billowed up from under the hood. The car had reached its limit. Mia sighed and stepped out just as Leo emerged from the front door. He was impeccably dressed, casually spinning the smart key of his Tesla Model S parked beside it. The contrast between the two cars was a cruel joke, one a pile of aging scrap metal, the other a sleek technological masterpiece. Mia hesitated, then called out, "Leo, wait. My car broke down again. The mechanic says the alternator's dead. Replacement will cost about $500. Can you transfer it to me?" Leo stopped in his tracks. He spun around, glaring at Mia as if she had just asked him for a kidney. The pressure from his credit card debts made $500 feel like a massive sum to him at that moment. $500? Leo snapped, his voice echoing out onto the street. "Are you kidding me, Mia? Last month it was new tires. This month it's the alternator. Are you some kind of money grinder? I work myself to death, not so you can throw cash out the window on this heap of junk." "But without a car, I can't go grocery shopping. I can't go to charity work at church," Mia tried to explain gently. Just then, Mrs. Rosa, who had been sipping afternoon tea on the porch, heard the argument and set her cup down, slowly walking over. She glanced at the battered Toyota and curled her lips disdainfully. asking for money again. Dios mío, how embarrassing. This morning I ran into Mrs. Garcia at the club. Her daughter-in-law just bought her a Hermes Birkin for their wedding anniversary. And what about the daughter-in-law in this house? All you do is open your mouth and say, Leo, give me money. Leo, fix my car. Don't you see how useless you are? Her words were like salt rubbed into Mia's pride, yet Mia stood straight, refusing to bow her head. She looked directly into her husband's eyes, waiting for even a trace of mercy. But Leo, crushed by his mother's pressure and his own hollow pride, chose the cruelest option. He sneered, pressed the unlock button on the Tesla, and the automatic door lifted arrogantly. Did you hear what my mother said? I'm sick of supporting you. If your car is broken, then walk or take the bus. The supermarket is only 2 miles away. Consider it exercise to lose some weight. With that, Leo climbed into the car, revved the engine, and sped away, leaving Mia standing alone in the blazing sun and exhaust fumes, with her mother-in-law's contemptuous gaze burning into her back. The real storm did not come from nature, but from a photo message sent to Leo's phone at midnight. A pregnancy test with 2 bright red lines accompanied by a short but lethal message from Veronica. It's a boy. You have 1 week to deal with the auntie at home, or I'll come in person to claim a name and status for my child. Cold sweat broke across Leo's body. He was cornered, but instead of guilt, his survival instinct and fragile pride surged to the surface. He needed an alliance. On Sunday afternoon, while Mia was at church, Leo called an emergency family meeting in the living room with Mrs. Rosa and Lola. Mom, Veronica's pregnant. It's a boy, Leo confessed weakly, lowering his head as he braced for fury. But contrary to his fears, Mrs. Rosa's eyes lit up. She didn't scold her son for infidelity. In her old-fashioned thinking, men fooling around was normal. What mattered was the result. She had long grown tired of Mia, the daughter-in-law she considered a barren tree, married for 10 years without producing an heir. That's wonderful news, Leo. Mrs. Rosa slapped her thigh, her voice turning sharp and calculating. This is your chance to get rid of that dead-weight Mia. You deserve a young, beautiful wife who knows how to socialize and can give you a son, not that gloomy girl. Lola, filing her nails, chimed in, Exactly, bro. She's just wasting food and space in this house. But hey, what about a divorce? Mrs. Rosa narrowed her eyes, scanning the luxurious villa, then lowered her voice like a shady dealer. I already had someone appraise it. The Miami real estate market is on fire. This house is worth about $1.2 million right now. The question is how to kick her out without losing a single dollar. Leo hesitated. But the law, my foot, Mrs. Rosa cut him off. She has no job, no income, and hasn't contributed a cent to this house in 10 years. All the bills and the original mortgage are in your name. In court, you just prove she's a parasite. We'll force her to sign a waiver giving up all claims in exchange for her freedom. Once the house is sold, we split the money. You'll have capital to start over with Veronica. That's right, Lola giggled, eyes dreamy with thoughts of shopping sprees. You need to be tough. Kick her out. I'm sick of looking at her funeral face anyway. Inside the glittering living room, the 3 blood relatives leaned in together, sketching out a ruthless plan to strip and discard the woman who had silently sacrificed for them for an entire decade, fully convinced that victory was already in their hands. October 15th. Mia's 30th birthday, a significant milestone in a woman's life. On the dining table, Mia had prepared a small vanilla cake with her own hands, 3 candles already lit, their flames flickering softly. She wasn't expecting a lavish celebration, only hoping for a peaceful dinner, a simple birthday wish from the husband she had shared 10 years with. The door opened. Leo walked in, but there were no flowers in his hands, no gift. He tossed his briefcase onto a chair, then pulled out a thick yellow manila envelope and slammed it down right next to the burning cake. "Happy birthday," Leo said, his voice as cold as an iceberg. "Here's your gift. Open it." Mia slowly picked up the envelope and pulled out the stack of papers inside. The bold headline slammed into her eyes: "Petition for Dissolution of Marriage." She skimmed through the clauses. The cruelty was unmistakable in every line. Leo demanded that she leave immediately. Under asset division, it stated the wife would receive no rights to the Miami house, no equity, no savings. Reason: the wife made no financial contributions during the marriage. Attached was the alimony proposal, $500 per month for 12 months. A cheap insult, not even equal to the cost of one of Leo's drinking nights. "You want me to leave with nothing?" Mia looked up, her voice strangely calm, not a single tear. Leo sneered and poured himself a glass of water. "What more do you expect? 10 years I fed you and let you live in a big house. You didn't contribute a single cent to the mortgage, didn't pay one electric bill. You're just a freeloader. This house is my blood and sweat. Sign it and get out. That $500 is me being generous." Mia placed the papers on the table and blew out the birthday candles. A thin trail of white smoke rose, fragile yet final. She looked straight into Leo's eyes, her gaze so deep it made him shiver involuntarily. "Leo, are you sure you want to handle it this way? Dragging me to court and forcing me out like a homeless person? Think carefully. You will regret this." Leo burst out laughing, his arrogant laughter echoing through the kitchen. "Regret? The only thing I regret is not dumping you sooner to make room for someone who actually deserves this place. Sign it now, or I'll have my lawyer force you." He had no idea the signature he was forcing Mia to write would become the death sentence for his own fake, glittering life. The air in the dining room seemed to freeze solid. Mia picked up the pen and, without a second of hesitation, signed her name in the respondent section of the divorce petition. The strokes were firm and decisive, completely opposite to her usual meek demeanor. Leo snatched the papers the moment she put the pen down, his greedy eyes scanning the signature as if afraid she might change her mind. He smirked triumphantly. "Good. You know your place. Now go pack your things. You have 30 minutes. And remember, only take what belongs to you. Don't even think about touching anything I paid for, including the hairdryer." Mia said nothing. She quietly went upstairs to the master bedroom and pulled out an old cabin-sized suitcase from under the bed. She packed only a few simple outfits bought from Target, her old Bible, and most importantly, the cold wallet containing her multi-million-dollar fortune, carefully hidden inside the pocket of her jeans. She left behind all the flashy gowns Mrs. Rosa had forced her to wear for appearances, and even the cheap imitation jewelry Leo had given her on holidays out of obligation. When Mia dragged the suitcase downstairs, Leo, Mrs. Rosa, and Lola were already lined up at the front door, arms crossed, watching like prison guards overseeing an escape. "Open the suitcase," Lola jerked her chin. "Who knows if you didn't sneak one of Leo's watches or perfume bottles?" Mia said nothing. She quietly unlocked it. Inside was almost empty, just a few worn clothes. The poverty of her luggage made Mrs. Rosa laugh contemptuously. "Rags and nothing else. Get out of my sight. Let this house be cleansed." Mia closed the suitcase and stood it upright. She slowly removed her wedding ring from her left ring finger. It was a thin 10K gold ring with a tiny artificial stone, dulled by time. She placed it on the polished marble console table by the entrance. The sound of metal hitting stone was dry and cold. "Take it," Mia said, her voice calm but carrying an authority that made Leo step back instinctively. Pawn shops might give you $50 for it. Consider it me returning the value you assign to this marriage." She glanced at the three smug faces, her eyes resting on Leo one last time, a look with no love left, no hatred either, only deep pity. "Goodbye, Leo. Good luck with your kingdom." Mia pulled her suitcase and walked out the front door. Outside, a black Uber was already waiting. She got in, the door closed, leaving behind the glittering villa and three people celebrating their victory, completely unaware that they had just driven away the only guardian angel of their lives. Just 48 hours after Mia rolled her suitcase away, the atmosphere in the beachfront villa changed completely. Leo brought Veronica home like a queen. The pregnant mistress moved straight into the master bedroom, threw Mia's hand-embroidered pillows into the trash, and replaced them with glaring red satin sheets. Lola and Mrs. Rosa were extremely pleased. In the evenings, they gathered in the living room, drinking champagne and chatting excitedly about the grandson growing in Veronica's womb. Mrs. Rosa smiled in satisfaction. "See, Leo, a house needs laughter, someone who knows how to enjoy life. The moment Mia left, the place brightened right up." But that brightness lasted exactly until the afternoon of the third day. The whole family was watching Netflix in Miami's 90-degree Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius heat, when suddenly, pop, the TV screen went black. The gentle hum of the central AC system stopped dead. The house plunged into an eerie silence. "What the hell?" Leo raked his hands through his hair, sweat already forming. He grabbed his phone and called FPL, the Florida Power and Light Company. After 15 minutes on hold, a cold customer service voice came on. "Sir, your service has been disconnected due to 3 consecutive months of unpaid bills. The bank account linked for autopay declined the transaction this morning due to insufficient funds." Leo froze. He vaguely remembered setting up autopay from the joint account. What he didn't know was that for years that account had been empty because of his spending habits, and it was Mia who had quietly logged into the portal every month to pay the electricity bill with her own card. Now that Mia was gone, the funding was cut. Before he could even process that, dinner time arrived. Veronica insisted on sushi from the expensive Nobu. Wanting to impress her, Leo immediately ordered a $300 set for delivery. When the delivery driver arrived, Leo confidently handed over his Visa signature card. Beep, beep. The POS machine flashed red. Transaction declined. "Must be a machine error." Leo laughed awkwardly and pulled out another Amex card. Beep, beep, declined. The delivery guy looked at Leo with a mix of pity and irritation. "Do you have another card or cash?" Lola and Mrs. Rosa waited hungrily in the dining room. Veronica began to frown. "Baby, why is it taking so long? The baby's kicking me." Leo stood frozen at the door, his face burning with humiliation. He emptied his pockets and found only $40 in loose cash. He had no choice but to cancel the Nobu order and run down the street to buy a few cold pizzas. The imagined luxurious dinner turned into a disaster. In the dim darkness caused by the power outage, the house began to smell damp without air conditioning, and garbage odors started to build up because no one remembered trash day, something Mia had taken care of every Tuesday night. Reality, raw and unforgiving, was beginning to bear its fangs. 2 weeks later, inside a luxurious mahogany-paneled conference room at Leo's law firm located in the Brickell Financial District, cold air blasted from the air conditioning vents, making the atmosphere even more stifling. Leo sat beside his attorney, Martinez, a heavy-set middle-aged man with an arrogant smile. Across from them sat Mia and attorney Perez, a slender woman wearing gold-rimmed glasses, her face cold and completely expressionless. This was a deposition during the discovery phase. Leo wanted to wrap this up quickly. He needed to sell the house immediately to pay off the compounding debts, piling interest upon interest, and to restore the electricity and water before Veronica completely lost her temper and walked out. Attorney Martinez opened by shoving a thick stack of documents toward Mia. The sound of paper sliding across the polished wooden table was grating. "Miss Mia," Martinez tilted his chin upward, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "These are my client's bank statements for the past 5 years. As you can see, money flowed regularly into the joint account every single month from Mr. Leo's salary, $5,000 per month, not a single dollar missing." He paused, scanning the room for dramatic effect. "Meanwhile, your contribution amounts to a perfect zero. No income, no assets. You lived entirely off Mr. Leo's sweat and labor. Under Florida law, you are a financial burden, or, to put it plainly, a social parasite. You have no standing to claim any division of property." Leo sat beside him, performing the role of a victim flawlessly. He lowered his head, rubbing his temples, pretending to choke back tears. "I tried my best. I worked 60 hours a week, endured crushing sales pressure just so she could have a comfortable roof over her head, shop at the grocery store for organic food. And yet she didn't appreciate any of it. I feel used." Martinez followed up sharply. "Therefore, we propose that you sign this agreement. You will receive a one-time support payment of $500 and relinquish all rights to the house. This is Mr. Leo's final act of generosity." Leo peeked at Mia through his fingers. He felt smugly certain that the numbers on those documents were ironclad proof. He believed that Mia, the simple housewife who only knew domestic chores, would be intimidated by the authority of the law and those complicated figures and would back down. But he was wrong. Mia showed no fear at all. She picked up the folder, flipped through a few pages, and the corner of her lips lifted slightly into a mysterious smile. The atmosphere in the conference room shifted abruptly when Attorney Perez, Mia's representative, calmly opened her crocodile leather briefcase. She did not slide out a thick stack of papers like the opposing side, but instead withdrew a single A3 sheet displaying a color-coded Excel spreadsheet detailing transaction flows. "Attorney Martinez," Perez spoke, her voice low but sharp as a scalpel, "you just presented the credit column, but in accounting, and in life, it is the debit column that determines the truth." She pushed the sheet toward Leo. "Mr. Leo, you claim that you transferred $5,000 on the first of every month to pay for the house, correct?" "Of course," Leo replied, though his voice had begun to tremble upon seeing Mia's confident smile. "The bank statements prove it." "Yes, the money did come in," Perez tapped the paper with her finger. "But look at the line immediately below it, recorded at 8:01 a.m. on the same day. The moment your $5,000 pinged into the account, the system automatically executed an auto sweep to cover overdraft debts." Leo squinted and looked closely. A glaring red line appeared unmistakably clear. $4,800, credit card balance payment, and BetMGM online gambling. "Mr. Leo," Perez continued, her gaze boring into the man whose face had gone pale, "you set up automatic credit card repayments 3 years ago and forgot to turn them off. Your cards were drowning in debt from partying and online gambling. The moment your salary arrived, the bank swallowed it whole to cover your reckless lifestyle. The available balance left in the joint account on the 2nd of each month averaged only $200. The room fell completely silent. Attorney Martinez hurriedly snatched the paper, sweat breaking on his forehead. Perez leaned back in her chair, folding her arms. "The mortgage on the house is $3,500 per month. You cannot pay a $3,500 debt with only $200 in your pocket. For the past 36 months, your money has never once reached the lender's account." Leo stammered, his face drained of all color. That's impossible. I saw the money deducted. I thought the mortgage was being paid. If I didn't pay, why didn't the bank foreclose? Why were we still living there for 3 years? Only then did Mia speak, her voice gentle but crashing down on Leo like a sledgehammer. That's a good question, Leo. If you didn't pay, then who did? The truth about Leo's financial irresponsibility was laid bare without mercy. He was not a provider, he was a bottomless pit. But an even bigger question had just been raised, plunging both Leo and his lawyer into utter panic. Who had been silently carrying that enormous debt all along? The conference room was tense, like a stretched wire. Leo slammed his hand hard on the table, his face flushed red, desperately trying to salvage the last shred of dignity in the face of Attorney Perez's razor-sharp logic. "I don't care," Leo shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "No matter who paid the money, on the legal paperwork, the deed, that house is still under my name. I'm the owner. If she voluntarily paid the debt for me, then that was a gift from her. Now I want to sell the house, and she has no right to stop me." Attorney Perez did not flinch. She pulled out a legal document stamped in bright red and gently slid it toward Leo. "Mr. Leo, your understanding of the law is severely lacking. Yes, the title is under your name, but the house is mortgaged, and this is the assignment of mortgage." Leo picked up the paper, his hands trembling. "Luna Holdings, LLC? Who are they? Why do they hold my debt?" Only then did Mia stand up, straightening the lapel of her cheap suit jacket, yet somehow radiating an unsettling air of authority. She looked straight into her husband's eyes. 3 years ago, when the bank sent the third foreclosure notice because you hadn't paid, I intercepted that letter. I didn't want you to lose face in front of the neighbors, so I used my own investment fund, Luna Holdings LLC, to purchase the entire bad debt from the bank. She planted both hands on the table and leaned close to Leo's face. "In other words, Leo, I am your creditor, and because you haven't paid a single cent to Luna Holdings for the past 36 months, under the contract terms, I have the right to trigger immediate asset recovery. You are not the homeowner. You are a defaulted borrower squatting in the house." Leo collapsed back into his chair, his mouth hanging open. The house, his only pride, his last life raft, burst like a soap bubble. But the nightmare did not end there. Thrashing in desperation, he shouted, "Fine, fine, take the house. I don't need it. I'm still the chief sales officer. I earn a 6-figure salary. I'll rent another place. I'll sue you to the end." Mia let out a bitter laugh. "Your career? You really think you're a talent?" Leo asked. "What do you mean?" "The logistics company you work for has been on the brink of bankruptcy for 4 years already. No one wants to do business with a sales director who only plays golf and drinks all day," Mia said clearly. "It was me, under the title of an angel investor, who injected capital to keep that company alive, with only one condition written into the shareholder agreement, that your position as director be preserved." Under the horrified stares of Leo and Attorney Martinez, Mia pulled out her phone and put it on speaker. "Hello, Chairman Gomez speaking," came the familiar voice of Leo's CEO. "Hello, Mr. Gomez. This is Mia, representative of the largest shareholder." Mia's cold voice echoed through the room. "I've decided to withdraw our investment from the Southern project, and while we're at it, employee ID L001, Sales Director Leo, terminate him immediately." "Understood, Miss Mia. The decision takes effect right now," the voice on the other end replied without hesitation, then hung up. The phone slipped from Leo's hand and hit the floor. Thud. In a single morning, he lost his house, his wife, his job, and the fake masculine ego he had spent a decade carefully constructing.
It turned out that the freeloading woman he had despised was the very person who had been paying to employ him as a husband and as a boss all along. 24 hours after the fateful meeting at the law office, a patrol vehicle from the sheriff's office screeched to a stop in front of the mansion gates. The large sheriff, wearing dark sunglasses, stepped out holding an eviction notice. There was no mercy. Under Florida law, once the lawful owner activates the right of repossession, unlawful occupants must leave immediately. The scene on the sidewalk of one of Miami's wealthiest neighborhoods that day was tragically absurd. Italian velvet sofas, art paintings, which Leo had bragged were authentic but were actually replicas, and piles of luxury brand suitcases were strewn across the lawn under the scorching sun. Leo sat slumped on the curb, his head buried in his hands. Beside him, Veronica, the pregnant mistress, wailed hysterically, cursing Leo nonstop as a con artist. Mrs. Rosa, once proudly holding her head high, now stood with disheveled hair and makeup smeared by tears. Lola frantically texted friends asking for a place to stay, but no one replied. The roar of an engine tore through the bleak silence. A silver-gray Porsche 911 Turbo S slowly rolled up and stopped right in front of them. The door opened. Mia stepped out. No longer dressed in worn house clothes, Mia wore a perfectly tailored white suit, dark sunglasses, and carried the aura of a powerful chairwoman. Seeing Mia, Mrs. Rosa acted like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. She scrambled up and rushed forward, trying to grab Mia's hand. "Mia, my child, I know you're filial. You can't let me, your sister, and even your niece be thrown onto the street like this. We're family, aren't we?" Lola also stammered, forcing a crooked smile. "Sister Mia, no, sister-in-law, I know I was wrong. Do you need someone to manage social media? I can do it." Mia gently stepped back, avoiding Mrs. Rosa's touch as if dodging a contagious disease. She removed her sunglasses and swept her gaze over the people who had once treated her like trash. She walked up to Leo, who was still staring at the ground, unable to look up. Mia pulled a small envelope from her handbag and lightly dropped it onto his thigh. "Take it," Mia said, her tone calm but cold. Leo trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside were a few small bills. The total was exactly $500. "This is Uber money for you to take your family to some cheap motel," Mia said, her sharp eyes fixed on Leo. "Exactly the same amount you once used to humiliate me when I asked for money to fix my car so I could go do charity work. Remember?" Leo looked up, his bloodshot eyes filled with belated regret. "Mia, I—" "Don't say anything," Mia cut him off, her voice hardening. "My kindness has limits, Leo, and you people exceeded its credit limit a long time ago. The account is now permanently frozen." With that, Mia turned and walked back toward the supercar without looking back even once. The car door slammed shut, final and decisive, like a period ending a painful chapter. The Porsche shot forward and disappeared, leaving the former in-law standing helplessly amid scattered belongings and the contempt of neighbors live streaming the scene.